sure everything's on. Hang on. Happy Monday. Nope. Hey. Let's see. There I am. Okay. How is everybody doing today? What is this, Monday, number 5 or 6 in quarantine? Our family actually decided to quarantine in place, shelter in place 2 weeks before our governor here in Washington called for it. So we're going on 2 months. It's a good thing I like to be home, and it's a good thing I like my family. I imagine this might be a different experience if you didn't enjoy being home or you like your family. I'm going to give it a few minutes and wait for some other people to jump on. Today we are talking about buying your first featherweight. This is a part 2 of 3 in our series. So we're going to talk about when you actually launch your search for your featherweight today. Did anybody see my post over the weekend about all the machines I picked up? I have been in negotiations with this gentleman for about a year hi Mary from Facebook. Hey, talked to you today. Your order went out too. I got you out. It looks like Helen is watching too from Bellingham. All of those featherweights were like Christmas morning. I've been working on that deal with this collector he kind of splits time between in the country and out of the country, and I bought 13 machines from him last fall already, mostly 222s. He doesn't even sew or anything. He just had an eye for these little machines and knew that they would Happy Monday, Helen. Knew that they would hold their value. And so the first lot that came to me in the fall had 7 222s. And I already had found homes out of the orphanage for 4 of them. So I still have 3 left. And then with this 16 that came in, 5 were 222s. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. And of the 5, 4 still had their 220 motors on them. 1 already had the motor conversion, and it is already sold and heading up to Bellingham, actually. There is one of the machines that in the lot that I would call a collector's machine, near flawless. Like, will not do the motor conversion unless the seller wants me to, because I feel like it would be devaluing the machine to change the motor out. But it looks like it was barely used, and it has a complete everything with it. It even has the original little oil can and grease thing from back in the day. I mean, it's stunning. It's breathtaking, actually. So that one will find the right home with the right collector to be the gem of their whole collection. So I've been working on machines nonstop this weekend. This is the first time in the history of my company that I've had the ability to resell tan featherweight. So there were 3 in the lot, and there's only 1 left, and I'm going down a list of people who said they wanted a tan. So if you've already let me know that you want a tan, then you're on the list. I'm just not to your place in line. So but anyway, the other 2 are already sold. One's going to Arizona, and one's staying right here in the Seattle area. So that's kind of fun. But I was working on them all day yesterday, and then I wanted to show you guys something too before I realized I'm off topic, so I apologize. But I got 2 in the lot. I got 2 1952 machines, and I just thought it was kind of ironic. So let me show you. Let me grab them. I want to show you. I spend a large amount of time talking about conditions of machines. Shiny, not shiny, more of a matte finish. So this is just a very outward sign of someone who obviously the machine was their pride and joy, and they took care of it and used the proper chemicals, and then someone who didn't know the right way to take care of the machine and use the right chemicals. So these are both 1952 machines that are available from the lot. One is from the UK plant in Kilbowie, Scotland. And so it has a serial number that starts with the letters E. That's a Scotland or a UK machine. And then the one was made here in the US, and it starts with the serial number A. So that's how I know that. But both 1952, look at the difference as to how they were taken care of. So here's, actually it doesn't look that bad on camera. This is one that has what I would call a matte finish. It's not shiny, it's not skating rink shiny, but surprisingly the decals are all totally intact, but very matte finish. I guess you guys can kind of see it there. So this one's from the US. And then this little guy was clearly someone's baby. This one's the one from the UK. Can you guys see that shine? I mean, that's crazy. But it's so funny because they're the same age, but yet one was just so very clearly, you know, considered a very valuable possession. Sorry about that. And the other one, just either it was a very valuable possession, but she didn't understand how to take care of it, or it wasn't. Maybe it was just one of many machines she had. But anyway, I always think that's kind of ironic when you look at like two totally different machines, but same years on this earth, and one just could look so different than the other. Sometimes when I'm trying to help people find the right machines, I have people ask me for machines that have distinct character marks in them. They want they want a machine in a room of sewing machines that they can tell which one's theirs. So anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand, which is buying your first featherweight. To review what we talked about in number 1, in part 1, it was all things to be considering before an actual like search is launched. What year, what model, do you want a really shiny one? What's your budget? Those are all things to discuss before you even start clicking around on eBay. The part 2 here is, okay, you've answered and addressed those other questions. Now what? Let's start with where you look for a featherweight. So there are lots of different places that you can look for a featherweight. If you're part of a sewing group or a guild, from time to time, people who are kind of getting out of sewing, they'll want to further or pass their machine along. Those are good places to look. If you're part of a group of quilters or sewers or stitchers or sewists that do it for charity through a church or a nonprofit, those are great places to look, because most likely those machines were maintained really well and they've been sewn on recently. That's an important thing to make note of. When was the last time the machine was sewn on? Not ran, sewn on. Because for these machines, the biggest kryptonite for them is just sitting idle and not being sewn. You can think that you're doing a machine a service by putting it up in a closet or putting it in a garage and storing it, but actually sitting and letting the oil can harden in the motor so that the pulley won't freely spin is one of the things that leads to seizure of the motor, and then you have to replace the whole motor. So sometimes I get people who call me and they're like, oh, this was my mom's, has it run for 20 years. That's a big dice roll for someone who doesn't know what they're doing with this machine. To have a machine that hasn't been run in decades, a lot of things can go wrong with that machine. So another place to look, other than just your circle or your tribe of people, is the auction sites. So obviously eBay. There's also Facebook groups. There's two different types of sales. There's the sale from the private seller, so someone who isn't necessarily connected with it. It's a family member. It's someone who found it in a storage unit. You're basically kind of rolling the dice. Or there's the purchasing from a dealer like myself. There's lots of us around the country. I'm not the only one. I just happen to be, the only one up here in the Pacific Northwest, in the upper left-hand corner. But buying from a dealer is a much different experience than working with someone over eBay or Craigslist, or in fact, most of those people are the people I deal with, because I will roll the dice with the machines. I know how to fix them if they're broken. But it's a lot to ask for someone who doesn't really know what they're doing. So you just have to be kind of careful. Yes, you'll pay less if you go the private seller route, but then you might land up with a dealer or a service shop making up the difference on the back end for missing parts and pieces. There are things that you definitely want to look for, like making sure it has a bobbin casing in it. If it doesn't have its original bobbin casing in it, it'll run you $100 just to get a new one. Around $100, I should say, for a vintage original, $90 to $100. So that's a big deal. It needs to have its bobbin casing. The other thing is with the motor needs to be freely moving, and if possible, you want to sew with it, or whoever you're buying it from needs to sew with it, take a video, send you a picture, give you some assurance that the machine is actually sewing. It's really not that big of a deal if the machine gets to you and it's not sewing. Usually there's just a half of a handful of little idiosyncrasies with it, and if one little idiosyncrasy is out of whack or out of line, then the machine won't sew. But it's really just a quick fix, like changing, turning your needle around, or making sure that the bobbin case is notched in properly. So don't go into full panic mode. Hi, Jackie from Kennewick. That's from the other side of the mountains. So anyway, those are things to think about. You also, I sell 5 to 6 machines a month all over the country. So just because the machine isn't in front of you to sew on doesn't necessarily mean that you should not buy it. If it's a good deal, or if it's the right year, or it's the kind that you've been looking for. I think for me, because I'm a quilter, obviously, so I try to find out how my customers are going to use the machines. Do they want to collect a machine just to have one to adore? Do they want to are they actually going to use it? So if you actually are going to use it, then maybe this shiniest machine in the case isn't the one you really want, because if it's that shiny and that mirror of a finish, you really don't want to use those machines. You want to keep them in the condition, that they came to you in, because the value will just continue to rise as these machines become harder and harder to find. So that's something to think about. I have a customer that I've been working with for a while, and she wants to use her machine. So if it has some aesthetic defects on it, some wearing of the decals, some, minor dings and surface scratches, then she's totally fine with that, because she knows that she's going to use it herself. And then you don't have to feel quite so bad putting the first scratch or the first ding in it. So hi Rose from Tennessee is on. Hi, I hope your mom and dad are doing good. This is a longtime customer, Rose. She cracks me up. I met her, I think it was about a year ago. She had purchased a white machine. I think it was off of eBay. Rose, tell me if it was off of eBay. And it didn't show up in the condition that she was expecting it. This is not an uncommon story. So she sent me a box of parts, all labeled intricately, including this bull pin cover. And she cracked me up because we were able to kind of piece it all back together. Her bobbin winder was all disassembled, so all of the, the washers and everything. But I just loved how thorough Rose was about sending me everything all sandwich baggied up with her notes and her contact information. It was eBay. I thought it was. I think I told you guys a story a couple weeks ago about like the worst experience I'd heard thus far for some poor grandpa in Michigan trying to buy his 5-year-old granddaughter a featherweight, and the machine showed up. He paid $275 for it, and the machine showed up with no motor. No bobbin casing, no box, no feet, no foot controller. Like all of the big stuff that was needed to actually run the machine wasn't even there. It was crazy. Bobbin winder broken. Yeah, thread pin, the spool pin missing. That's what I thought. See, I remember. She's been staying with her parents, who are both, I think she said, in their 90s, and making sure they're doing okay during all this. So she's been doing a lot of face masks, sewing and stuff, and we've been on the phone a few times trying to help her out with some of her machines. But it's good to see you, Rose. And I think Sandy Sue Sews, I think I know who that is too. That's my friend Sandy from Arizona, I think. Hello. We are discussing purchasing. Oh, Rose said that she named the little white machine after me. She called it Darlene. That's so sweet. Thank you. That's like the biggest compliment, right? Because I always tell people they should name the machines after, if they didn't know who the original owner was, or it wasn't their mom or their grandmother's machines, that they should pick someone that was influential in their life, either to bring the machine to them or quilting in general. And so that's sweet. See, Rose, you made my day. Thank you. Anyway, so we're talking about buying your first featherweight and what to do when you're actually in front of it. So we kind of already ran down the list. The next part of the 3-part series will be what to do when the machine arrives in front of you. Like, for instance, repairing and what things cost to get fixed, either through a dealer or another service shop. So someone said on here, hold on. Oh, it's not showing me all the comments. How do I do this? Sorry, guys. Hi, Jeanette. Jeanette is another one of my customers, local customers. She purchased the machine just after we went into quarantine, and she called her machine Vera after Vera the virus. How hilarious is that? Oh, it's not going to show me all of the comments. Someone was asking about buying a machine you actually want to use, but I can't see the comment. Okay, if that was you, I think it was Melinda or Malin. I can't find your comment. I'm sorry. Go ahead and give me a call at the shop tomorrow, and I can see if there's something I have that will fit your needs with the machine that you actually want to use. You can email me at info@featherweightdoctor.com. I do have some machines on our website right now, but I won't have the ones that I just picked up, the 16 over the weekend, on the site probably until later on this week. There's just too much to do to go through them and stuff, even to get them kind of ready to photograph. Oh, there you are, Malene, one to sew with. I'll respond to you back on the comment section about how to get a hold of me. If you're just looking for a machine to quilt with, just for home use or the general retreat use, you don't need to spend at the top end of a dealer price list. You just, because they all basically sew the same. The $600 ones, which is my beginning price point, sew very similarly to the $1,200 ones that are more collectors with the special badges. You don't have to spend more than the beginning price point to just get a machine to piece with. Now, if you're adding to your collection, or you want a 222, that's a whole different conversation, because those are rarer. They are very different little creatures, and that price point will definitely shoot up if that is what you're interested in. So there are 2 different models. In case people didn't know, there is the 221s, which were made in 3 different plants, one here in the US, one in UK, and one in St. John's Bay, Canada. There was well over 1.2 million 221s made over their manufacturing span, and they are still pretty readily available, although getting harder recently, I've noticed. The 222s are the second model. There was only 100,000 of them made. They were only made in the UK plant, and they were made and intended for the US market. So they are much harder to find. I have to source them overseas usually. They have to come in and have motor conversions, so that's why their price point is more like $2,000 as opposed to $600. But if you're in that market, I have plenty of them right now, so you should definitely message the shop also. Well, I think that's all the information I have for you on buying your first featherweight. Malene, we'll talk here in a little bit. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like, follow, or subscribe to us on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Also, if you have questions that you'd like me to address on these lives, then you can go ahead and email into info@featherweightdoctor.com. Wednesday is my next live event. I'm actually really excited about this because it's like the first time I am interviewing another featherweight colleague. So across the country there are ladies, not that there aren't men also, but there are ladies that own shops like mine, and we have a really good working relationship and really believe strongly in helping each other grow our businesses and to band together as female entrepreneurs. And so one of my colleagues from Newburgh, Oregon, her name is wow, Darlene, Karen Lee. Why did I forget that? I don't know. Her and I are going to be interviewing each other on Wednesday. So what we're going to do is we're going to do Facebook, because we can't do the interview on Instagram and Facebook at the same time. So at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time on Monday, her and I are going to sit down on Facebook and have a little shop talk. And then on 4:30, we're going to jump on Instagram together. So join us, and I'd love to introduce you to my friend. She is a wonderful lady, and she lives on a farm and probably has all kinds of cool animal stories. So we're going to get to know each other a little bit. So thanks for chiming in with me today. I super appreciate everybody joining me. And if you, I guess I'll look forward to just seeing you on Wednesday. We'll talk to you then.